Hello, everyone. My name is Ray,
My name is Tammy.
and we are Real
Real
Estate
estate
Couple.
couple.
And today, here, we're going to talk about how we invested in a home in Scottsdale and turned it into Airbnb 3 years ago. And now we're generating $100,000 a year in revenue. Let's talk about how we got started initially. By the end of 2021, this was COVID time, and the interest rate was quite low at the 2% rate and
3%.
close to 3%. And we wanted to get into a home that we can convert to Airbnb because we just bought our first home in Seattle and we
So
wanted
we,
to replicate that.
we saved up some money and then we decided to split the money and then buy a very small condos, just enough for our own use, and then invest the rest in a investment home.
Yeah, so exactly. So we were living in Seattle at the time, and we wanted to look outside because the numbers just really didn't make sense buying in Seattle. We looked into it, but for the same home, it was almost close to like double the price or 1.5 times. And just strictly looking from the cash flow standpoint, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to positively cash flow. So we started looking outside, and we stumbled upon a YouTube video by these influencers, Rob Built, and we watched like hundreds of hours of him talking about how he built a tiny home in Los Angeles and turned it into a cash flowing property. So we started, thinking about it, dreaming about it, and some some way somehow, my mom just came back from a trip to Palm Spring, a golf trip, and stayed at her friend's vacation home down there. And in passing, she was like, "Ray, it would be great if we can buy a vacation home." And normally, I would just kind of brush it off, but at the time, we were thinking about real estate investing, so we just started digging deeper. Palm Springs just didn't turn out to be the best investment, just from the long term appreciation standpoint. So and then we naturally kind of led to the next neighbor, either was Las Vegas or towards Arizona, and stumbled upon Arizona. Um,
I think we had criteria that it needs to be a Republican state because tax wise, incentive wise, policy wise, it's more business friendly, and also they protect tenant landlord more, landlord friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of factors that went into it, but first things first, numbers needed to make sense, but also regulation needed to allow Airbnb and needed to be business friendly. And at the time, there was a lot of articles about like people moving to Phoenix for work, corporations moving their headquarters out of California into Arizona, and talks about how Samsung and TSMC is going to open a plant in Arizona. So we were like, hey, from the long term standpoint, it looks like companies and manufacturing plants are investing more into this area, which will lead to like more high income earner moving there and leading to more appreciation in the long term standpoint.
Mm.
And one thing that we think about when we buy into real estate is we ask ourselves, can we hold this for next 20 years? Is because it's not like a stocks where we can just liquidate on an
Mm.
instant basis. Real estate is more of a bigger purchase that you want to hold on to it for a longer period of time and really recoup that appreciation gain.
So we were at that time we were looking for a house that has some appreciation potentials, and also it has to be positive cash flow every month.
Yeah, exactly. And initially, when we looked at Phoenix area, we looked at Glendale, Mesa, and Phoenix downtown area because they were relatively cheaper compared to Scottsdale. But I called 5 different realtors just to learn more about the markets and what they think about the Airbnb potential. And all 5 of them told me like, Ray, you got to look into Scottsdale.
Like,
So
nobody vacation outside of Scottsdale. Scottsdale is the only place to go.
yeah, and at the time we had a limited knowledge around Scottsdale. We never visited, and upon looking more into it, it turns out Scottsdale is well known for vacation destination for
Golf trip.
golfs and then bachelor parties, but also like just relaxation trips
It's
as a
a
big
like
group
very
together.
nice neighborhood, very safe. That's why people go there for vacation.
Yeah, so once we put our eyesight onto the Scottsdale, we started doing more numbers analysis, and turns out we were optimistic about getting into Scottsdale, and now we needed to decide how many bedroom, what kind of home, and what's the purchase price that we needed to get into.
Yeah.
And in the end, we decided on 4 bedroom and 2 bath home because uh, in Airbnb you want to have most amount of headcounts as possible for the home that you have because let's be honest, when you have more people staying at the home, they can divide up the price amongst themselves, which lower the nightly rate for each person. So it's more digestible for the bigger group. And at the 5 bedroom and bigger, the home prices were way too much that the number, just cash on cash return, didn't really make sense, and we landed on 4 bedroom that was optimal for us.
We also eliminated the 1 bedroom or studios or 2 bedroom because those homes you're directly competing with hotels, which is not a long-term plan.
Exactly. So once we made up our mind and spent about hundreds of hours on research, uh, we got to a point where we almost had like 100 pages of PowerPoint slides of research done on Scottsdale and Phoenix and Airbnb potential. After all that, we ended up flying down to Scottsdale and stayed at an Airbnb that's 4 bedroom. So very similar to what we will be purchasing for, just so that we can get a feeling of what this would feel like. So we went out there with friends, did a lot of activities, took notes on what could be better, what we could take away from this existing home. And we flew back and we continued our research, stayed in touch with the realtor. And what's crazy is that we ended up buying the home remotely, sight unseen.
Yes, that was crazy.
But we were able to do that because we had a full trust on realtor, and she specialized in helping investors buy a short-term rental. And she was very good with like the numbers. And when we send her like a listing of, hey, what do you think about these homes, and she would instantly analyze and give us like a potential return.
Yeah.
And she would also visit the home that we were interested in, and then took a video of the home,
of the surrounding as well, neighborhood. Yes.
So we put in the deal. Initial one, we got beat out, but second offer got accepted, which was great. And after closing, we ended up flying out there to the home. So this is where the whole, venture of going out there, working how many hours? Like close to like 16 hours a day working. Tammy, talk more about what we did there.
So we flew out there. Before we flew out, so there was 1 month for closing time, and at that time we started doing research on what kind of design we should go for, and we planned out all the logistics of furniture. So because every day that it's unfurnished and not on Airbnb, it's an opportunity cost for us. So our goal was to try to furnish everything in 8 weeks, and so we had everything ordered, Amazon, whatever work we need to do, we contact the people, have them come on the day. So that's where we also utilize Ray Strain project management. So he had a very strict timeline that helps me follow it. In terms of design, we knew bachelor party was trending, but I didn't want it to make it too feminine. I want to also attract couples or friends or families as well. And I know usually women in these trips, they have more deciding powers. So it was more neutral, but geared towards women.
Yeah, I think having a target audience in mind, and thinking about intentionally designing for that target group, was a key things for us that we did. And like Tammy said, I am a former product manager, and I'm pretty good at like project managing and prioritizing the task. And Tammy's really good at having very creative design and creative juices always flowing. So we wanted to play to our strength. And for us, our solution was buying a relatively turnkey home that doesn't need a big renovation, but home is ready for us to just start renovating, furnishing, and play to our strength of interior designing the home that is not too feminine, like Tammy said, but also cater to the big group that makes them feel like, hey, this is a vacation. If we don't want to leave the home, just here's a paradise for you.
So the home we picked, everything inside we didn't touch. Kitchen, bathroom, they were all renovated. Floors all renovated. The only extra, so we furnished inside the home, but then outside we did hire contractor to add a putting green, and then we added some concrete just to make it a little bit nicer. Pools was already there because we know to construct a pool, it takes weeks. It was just gonna take too long for us. So we specifically look for a home that comes with a pool.
Yeah, exactly. I think all in all, initial thing as soon as we got the home was just designing, and like Tammy's work just got started right away at that moment, and buying things that would take longer to purchase, like a big furnitures and whatnot. But after purchasing that and after the closing, we flew out there one day after the closing so that we can go out there and remotely work on our corporate job from 9 to 5, and then 5 to 1 a.m. we will be working on the home, whether it's designing, furnishing, assembling furniture, mostly assembling furniture. And total time, like Tammy said, our goal was to finish it in 8 weeks, but we somehow we had to finish it in 5 weeks because our realtor reached out to us asking, "Hey, is your home ready? Because we have somebody who want to rent the home for about a month and a half for $8,000." So our initial thinking was, "Oh,
Like,
so
no way.
there's no way. We literally have 1 week left because this was at week 4 mark, and a lot of it is done, but I don't know if we can get it done." But the 8K initial upfront revenue was so attractive
Tempting.
so tempting for us that we just like, okay, we gotta make it happen. Some low priority stuff, we'll leave it, but we'll just get everything done for now, and that will play well to our Airbnb timeline because even if you start listing right away, people are not gonna book it and then start coming to the home, especially considering that our home is a vacation home that people need to plan a bit far
bigger
ahead.
group. It's like we can accommodate up to 12 people, and bigger group, you don't just plan the next week.
Yeah. So the final week was, to say the least, it was very chaotic, very rushing. But we got the professional photography done and touches done, and the bedroom turned out great with boho design. We got very lucky getting a restoration hardware 12 people dining table for 90% off. So that was also another story to be told another day.
Yeah.
But in the end, we finished everything relatively close to our goal, rented out, listed on Airbnb, and been on Airbnb for past 3 years. And now it's generating about $100,000 a year in gross bookings, which is amazing. And how we manage it is another key because we don't live on the home or driving distance from the home. We actually live few hours of flights away from the home, and remote management was something that we had in mind going into it. So tell us a bit more about.
Just to be specific, we are 5 hours flight away from Scottsdale. We live in Toronto right now, so we had to. We wanted to set up things as remote as possible, and a lot of that comes into planning again. So we had to think about what kind of platform, what kind of technology we're going to use, and what kind of smart device would work with this technology. So that is smart lock. So we had to pick a brand specifically that works with the smart lock. There was a cleaner. There was thermostats, smart thermostats. I want to set the thermostat schedule same as guest check-in, check-out, so it directly sync with my booking platform. I don't need to manually adjust. It just adjusts automatically, so it improves guest experience. Whenever guests arrive, the home is cool to a comfortable temperature, and when they leave, says my electricity goes back to turning off. Things like that. And then cleaner coordination, we want booking platform directly to link to my cleaner schedule, so I don't need to get involved in every booking. Everything is seamlessly connected.
Yeah, and our goal was to automate it as much as possible so that our involvement is minimized, while confidently knowing that the home is well taken care of, and then guests are coming into a professionally cleaned and nice home. Not to mention that there are a lot of things that we have to think about, like when windows are broken or something's not done properly, we have to step in. Which leads to my next point of how Airbnb is not like fully passive. There are, like I would say, it's like semi-passive,
Yes.
As long as the right system and automation's done. And technology is evolving day by day. Honestly, like I think there's more things that we can do with AI. That's something that I'm looking into. But that's our story. And here are 4 key takeaways from our experience. First is that play to your strength. I think understanding what your strength is and how you can have your home uniquely stand out against others, it's going to help you in the long run. Because at the end of the day, this is a business, and there are many other competitors in the same area. And if it's like this Airbnb business, guests are comparing many options to pick from. So you have to have something unique. And for us, project management skill set and interior design was our unique strength that we wanted to adhere to. So we didn't go overboard with the renovations or anything like that. We really stick to our priority of minimizing our furnishing and renovation costs and minimizing our project timeline, and then adding a unique design to the home so that guests look at it and they say, "Hey, wow, like I want to stay at this home."
Yeah, and then I think second one is we learned that Airbnb is not a set and forget type of project. We really have to treat it as business. You need to really follow up with the trend. We need to know what's going on in the market to meet people's demand, so people will come back.
Yeah, and invest in the smart devices and automate as much as possible by studying and researching what are devices you can use and incorporate into your software system, but also having a right trustworthy team for us without trustworthy handyman, trustworthy pool management team, and also our cleaner. Without them, like we literally cannot run this business. So we're always grateful, and we think it's a a win-win partnership for both of us. And also like have a clear exit strategy. If Airbnb doesn't go well, what can we do? Do we need to sell the home? What are some things that we can do? And when we ran the numbers, we were still cash flow positive if we were to convert into a long-term 1-year rental. So that was our backup like plan if Airbnb doesn't work out for regulations or financial reasons. So think long term and also have a home appreciation in mind. Like, is this city growing? Is there more people moving into this area? That's also something to keep in mind because real estate is still, at the end of the day, a long-term game.
Like second year, we really struggled a lot. That's the time when there was a lot of influxes of Airbnb into Scottsdale. So when we got in at 2022, there was only 700 Airbnbs, 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale. But by 2023, there was 1,200 Airbnb homes of the same type. And that year, we just broke even, and it was really, really tough for us. But because we had this long-term plan and we know we wanted to be in this space for a long time, we stuck it out. And now we made our way to making 100K a year. And right now we outbeat a lot of competitors. Like there's only 900 Airbnbs left in this same space.
Which is 25% less than the peak time, which goes to show that a lot of hosts who didn't put in time and effort and didn't want to do extra work and thought that it's too competitive probably got out. So 2024 has been our best year where we hit the 100,000 mark while hitting 25% cash on cash return, which has been the best year. So
I think we're able to at least break even or make money. Was the biggest one was we were able to keep our costs low because we're not outsourcing property management. That's usually 20-25% of your revenue, and that's really big.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway with this is treat it like a business. It's not a set and forget. Always upgrade the home, stay ahead of your competition. For us, one of the major upgrade that we did in 2023 was adding a pickleball. There was a little narrow side yard area next to our home in the backyard that we really didn't know what to do with. When we bought the home, it came with apple tree.
Trees. And I really like the idea of fruit trees, but I didn't know the climate there, but my realtor told me you have to get rid of the fruit trees because who is going to manage those fruits? It'll be a great experience if guests can pick their own fruit and eat, but who's going to manage the one that didn't get picked out? They're going to be rotten on the floor and that attract pests, mouse, snake, I don't know, you can name it. So that was the first advice you gave us. You have to get rid of all these fruit trees. So we got rid of them and they were just empty soil bed.
Yeah. Well, it used to be the cornhole game.
So we put on cornhole because that was long and narrow, like perfect.
And it was so lame. And we didn't even add that into the Airbnb picture because it was so lame and we were shameful of it. It didn't add any value, right? Yeah. But then we visit the home like once a year to maintain and upgrade. And after the 1 or 2 years of operation, it was time for us to make a real upgrade. And we decided on the pickleball because that's the time the pickleball was really picking up and trending up. And obviously, we can't make a full regular size court, but
it's half the size.
Yeah, it's like a half the size, but it's still good enough for people to still, rally very lightly and think around. So we did everything DIY, but with just the pickleball court, it would look still kind of sad because it's in the corner. So Tammy did a great job, like painting on the wall, make it
art mural.
Art mural, yeah, exactly. Make it feel more welcoming and inviting. So that's one of the many upgrades that we did to the home to keep up with the Airbnb trend and stay ahead of competition. But all in all, these are some of the takeaways if you're thinking to getting into the Airbnb. So thank you so much for watching this video and us talking about our experience. Next video, we will talk about, we will break down our numbers more in details, like the revenue and expense, what are average costs for utilities, maintenance, and whatnot. So see you in next video.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.